ฮัทมาล็อกอันนี้ให้หน่อยมันจะเข้าเห็นไม่เวิร์กไม่ได้ไม่ได้
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're just going to give folks another minute or two to trickle in, and we will get started shortly. Thanks. Alrighty, I think we are probably good to go ahead and get started. Hello again, everybody. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today and for your interest in NYU. As you can see right here on the screen, my name is Emma Wen. I use she, her pronouns, and I am one of the Associate Directors of Undergraduate Admissions here at NYU. And I am very much looking forward to sharing more information about NYU with you all today. Quick background, I've been about 6 years now. I worked as a college counselor before that. And then prior to that, I attended NYU as an undergrad. So I like to think that gives me a nice insider's perspective on NYU. And I've just been part of this violet bubble now for well over decades. some fun insights to share with all of you. And hopefully this will be an informative and helpful presentation for all of you today. So before we go ahead and formally get started, we always like to throw a couple polls into these presentations so that we can get to know the audience joining us today. So we're going to go ahead and start with a poll and ask, is this the first time you are learning about NYU? Have you done an information session like this before? Have you toured campus? Is this the first? Let us know where you're at and we will share in a moment. All right, we'll give a few more seconds. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Alrighty, so it looks like for the majority of you, this is indeed your first time learning about NYU. We have a few folks who've had some exposure before, but either which way, regardless of where you are at in your learning journey for NYU, we're hopeful that this presentation will be informative. So my goal today is to give you all some more insight into what it's like to study here at NYU. I'll share some of the ins and outs of what it's like to be a student here, including talking about the academics, some of our global experiences, and just in general, what it's like going to college here in New York City or one of our other campuses in Abu Dhabi or Shanghai. So with that said, we're going to launch another poll. I also want to get a sense of where you are all at in your sort of educational journey. And we're going to ask this in the way of what is your expected term of entry? So if you are a rising senior, that'll be 2024. If you're a junior, 2025, and so on and so forth. So let us know what grade you're in and we'll go from there. I got some quick responses for this one. Alrighty, so it looks like 92% of us today are rising seniors looking to join for the class of, or incoming class for 2024. A few 2025ers, so juniors, and then 1% others. So regardless of where you are, again, hopefully this will be a helpful presentation for all of you. And I think this will be particularly timely for those of you who are rising seniors, since you are about to embark on this very fun, sometimes stressful process of applying for colleges. So before I dive into the actual content of the presentation, just going to share a couple quick housekeeping items. So please note that throughout the presentation or throughout the webinar, all attendees will be muted. But if you are interested in asking questions, there is that Q&A function down at the bottom of the screen that you can use to ask questions. We do ask that you listen carefully throughout the presentation because I can bet you I'll probably bet $10 that at some point throughout the presentation, one of your questions that you might have will probably be answered. So listen first, and if you still have lingering questions that haven't been addressed by the end of the presentation portion, then we'll happily answer those questions for you, either directly answering through the Q&A function or answering the questions live for you towards the end of the presentation. We do have staff members and current students behind the scenes answering questions for folks. So also note that if for some reason I get disconnected, we all know the internet can be super fun sometimes, disconnecting at random times. We do have an additional staff member who will step in on my behalf. Fingers crossed that won't be necessary though. Also note that if there are any questions that we are not able to answer during the webinar, either through the presentation itself or answering the questions that come in through the Q&A, we will provide additional contact information at the end so that you know how to reach out to us so that we can eventually get you an answer for your questions. And with that, that's it for our housekeeping items. And I'll go ahead and get started with a little bit of the history of NYU. So NYU was founded by a man named Albert Gallatin, who, side fun fact, he served as Treasury Secretary under two of our US presidents. And he created NYU back in 1831, really with the goal of wanting to create a university that was not just accessible to the elite. So he created NYU and modeled the university after a lot of the great universities in Europe, universities that were in and of the city where students could learn and grow beyond just the classroom space and therefore be prepared for the world through their education. And that's what NYU continues to be to this day. It's a university without walls. You'll see this saying a lot, or this catchphrase a lot, as you continue to do research on NYU or interact with NYU. But it very much is true. We are the university without walls, and we prepare our diverse student body to be comfortable anywhere, effective everywhere. And this global mindset of ours has really informed our approach to education from our earliest days of being just in and of the city here in New York City to now being in and of the great cities of the world. Now, as an extension of those founding beliefs, NYU is one of the first universities to offer a really truly seamless global educational experience that reflects the world as it is today. It's a world beyond borders. So, unlike our name suggests, I know you hear New York University, you think New York City naturally. But unlike our name suggests, we don't just exist here in New York City. We actually have two other degree granting campuses where students can stay for all 4 years of their college career and get their degrees from those locations. And those two other campuses are located in Abu Dhabi in the UAE, as well as a campus in Shanghai, which of course is in China. In addition to those two other campuses, we have 12 other global academic centers located across the globe where students can study. And we'll touch a little bit more on these campuses and the global education piece a little bit later on. But first, I'm going to dive into some logistics, but do know that with this global approach, NYU truly does prepare its students to be successful in this ever more interconnected world. And students here really do become globally minded citizens who understand the complexities of and can truly leverage the opportunities of today's society. Now, with that, as mentioned, I'm going to go into some logistical pieces talking about the application process. And before I dive into the real nuts and bolts in the content here, I want to ask, we're going to launch another poll and ask, what are you most interested in learning about today? Whether that's how to apply, financial aid, faculty, some of our different degree granting campuses. Let us know what you're interested in. A lot of options to choose from. All right, looks like we're getting to the majority of responses in. Take another second. Alrighty, so we've got a pretty good spread here today. We have a lot of folks who are interested in learning how to apply financial aid, a good chunk of folks who are specifically interested in our New York campus, but we have interest spread across the board, which is fantastic because each and every single one of these topics are topics that we will cover throughout the presentation today. So hopefully this will be helpful for you, regardless of what you are most interested in learning about. Now, with that said, I will go ahead and dive into the nuts and bolts of the application process. So, when it comes to applying to NYU, the very first step is going to be creating a common application. This is the one and only place where you can access NYU's application. For those of you who are rising seniors, there's a pretty good chance that a lot of you probably already have Common App accounts. If any of you are not familiar with the Common App, just know it's the centralized website where students can go and submit applications to multiple colleges through one centralized application. So it just makes life a little bit easier. And when you are filling out the common application, there will be common sort of general questions asking about, the high school that you attend, your family, your background, your demographics, and so on and so forth. And then as you add the different colleges that you want to apply for, there will be school specific questions that you'll be asked to answer as well. And when you are hitting NYU's specific questions in the Common App, one of the first questions you'll be asked is, which of our 3 degree granting campuses would you like to apply for? And answering this question, you can select just one of the campuses, you can select 2, or you can select all 3. This really is just a way for us to gauge interest in which campuses you are open to. So if you know in your heart of hearts that you would only want to be at NYU if you were going to be here in New York City, then it is perfectly fine for you to just select New York City in response to this question. If you think, okay, I think I'm most interested in New York, but I'm also open to the idea of that campus in Shanghai, it sounds like a really amazing opportunity. You could rank New York first and Shanghai second. And any and all campuses that you list in response to this question will be campuses that we consider you for admissions for. And you will ultimately only receive one decision for one of the campuses. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about how to answer that question as well. Now, in addition to that question, There will be some other NYU specific questions that you'll be asked to answer. And then when you're ready to go ahead and submit the application itself, you'll just hit submit and then you'll submit your supplementary materials. So these most notably will be a copy of your high school transcript, which typically will be sent to us by your high school counselor. And we'll also ask for a copy of the Common Application School Report, which is typically, again, also submitted to us by your high school counselor. And the school report typically just gives us a little bit more background context on your high school, what types of students go, how big of a school it is, what types of classes are offered, and so on and so forth. And that information gives the admissions committee a lot of useful context in understanding what types of classes you've opted to take at your high school. Now, in addition to the transcript and school report, we'll also ask you to submit academic record. We abbreviate it the SRAR. You don't need to worry about getting this completed until after you've submitted the application itself, but do know that this is a strict requirement. So make sure you are not forgetting this piece after you've hit submit on the Common App itself. It's oftentimes an easy piece for students to overlook, but your application will be considered incomplete if you haven't sent one to us. So keep that in mind as well. Another thing that you might be submitting would be test scores. So do note that NYU has a very flexible testing policy. If you have taken the SAT or ACT and you feel really confident in your scores and you want to submit those, you are absolutely welcome to do so. If you want to submit alternative forms of testing like AP scores, IB scores, et cetera, those are acceptable as well. But NYU, in light of everything that has unfolded since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, NYU has shifted into a test optional environment. So we are a test optional institution for the coming application cycle. So if you don't want to submit test scores in any capacity, that is perfectly fine. One thing additionally I'll note here is I know a lot of the time when we tell students, oh yeah, our college is test optional, they'll think, oh, but do you secretly really want us to still submit test scores? And I can't speak for other colleges, but at least speaking for NYU, the answer is no. We do not secretly want you to submit test scores. We really just want you to submit whatever materials you think will present the admissions committee with the most accurate capture of what your academic capabilities are. So if you feel like your transcript is really strong, you've taken rigorous and demanding courses, absolutely, please feel empowered to just apply with your transcript and no test scores whatsoever, and you will not be disadvantaged in any way during the application process. So that's testing in a nutshell. To continue with the list of other things you'll be submitting, you'll also be asked to submit one letter of recommendation. And this letter of recommendation is pretty flexible. It can come from any quote unquote person of authority. This could be a teacher, a counselor, it could be a coach from a sports team, a supervisor from a job. Any one of these people would be acceptable to get a letter of recommendation from. You'll also report your extracurriculars for us, and your personal statement will all be put into the Common Application as well. And an additional note for any of you who might be interested in artistic programs, these would be programs like film and television, cinema studies, dance, et cetera, et cetera. Some of these programs will also require an artistic review. So this could be a creative portfolio. It might be an addition process, but that might be a required part of the application process for you as well. So just be mindful of those additional requirements once you've decided which program it is that you're applying for. And that's pretty much it in terms of what it is that you're actually submitting alongside the application. Before I move on to talking a little bit more about what comes after the application process, namely in talking about financial aid, I do just want to quickly note our 3 application deadlines. So NYU does have 3 different deadlines that you can select from. We have early decision 1, we have decision. The early decision 1 and early decision 2 deadlines are really meant to be for those students who they are ready to commit to NYU. They know beyond a shadow of a doubt that NYU is their first choice, and they know that if they're admitted, they would 100% happily and excitedly accept that offer of admission. So if that's you, if you're in that boat, if you are ready to bleed violet, please definitely consider applying for our early decision 1 or early decision 2 deadlines. If you are not ready to make that level of a commitment to NYU, you are more than welcome to just apply for our regular decision deadline, and that is also perfectly fine. If you have questions about the difference between early decision 1, early decision looking to, regular decision, et cetera, et cetera. We're happy to address some of those for you later if you want to pop additional questions in the Q&A. Otherwise, I'll move on from that and just make an additional mention that if any of you happen to be applying as a potential transfer student, I'll just note that most programs, but not all of them, will accept applications for both the spring and fall semesters with a deadline of November 1st or April 1st, respectively. And you can definitely check out our website and email our office for additional information if you are interested in applying as a transfer applicant, since all of the information I just gave was pretty specific to first years. So that is the application process itself in a nutshell. And with that, I will go ahead and talk a little bit about financial aid. So at NYU, we are definitely committed to working with every family on supporting their students' attendance if offered admission. We understand that, especially these days, college is an investment. It is a hefty investment. It's an investment in your future. And for NYU, as you'll learn throughout the course of this presentation, we strongly believe that NYU and the education and the experiences that you get here make it a worthwhile investment, but it's still something that you have to consider, right? And so I think the most important thing to be aware of if you are going to be applying for financial aid is that in order to be eligible for financial aid, and this is inclusive of scholarships, grants, need-based money, merit-based scholarships, et cetera, and also regardless of your nationality, all students must submit something called the CSS profile. This is an application for financial aid that is actually accessible through the College Board's website. So if you have taken, let's say, the SAT or an AP exam, you can just go back, log in through your account there, and that's where you will access the CSS profile. And there will also be a non-custodial parent profile as part of this application if you have parents who are unmarried or separated. And so again, that one application is required for all students, both domestic and international. Now, for those of you who are U.S. citizens or permanent residents, you'll also be asked to complete the FAFSA application, otherwise known as the free application for federal student aid. And that's specifically if you're applying for campuses in New York or Shanghai. If you are a US citizen or permanent resident and you're applying to our campus in Abu Dhabi, the FAFSA application is not necessary. But for those of you who are applying specifically to New York, for example, and let's say you're a US citizen or permanent resident, please be aware of the fact that both the CSS profile and the FAFSA applications are 100% absolutely strictly required and must be submitted by the appropriate application deadlines if you want to be considered for financial aid. I think there's a lot that can be said in the realm of financial aid, but I think the most important takeaway and piece of advice that I can give for all of you on this slide is just be really, really mindful of those deadlines. NYU is quite strict when it comes to our financial aid deadlines. And I know it's so easy when you hit submit on the Common App itself and you've submitted all of your other supplemental materials to think, hooray, I can take a moment and breathe and enjoy my senior year a little bit. But those financial aid deadlines will still be looming. So please make sure you don't forget about any one of the applications for financial aid that might be required for you, given your citizenship status and the campuses of interest that you might be applying for. And that will be the best way to poise yourself to receive the maximum amount of aid that you might be eligible for. Now, the value of an NYU education is more than just the degree itself, right? It's access to our entire system and all of the resources that students can tap into as part of the global network. And this would include things like our faculty, research opportunities, internship opportunities, study away sites, and an alumni network that spans every industry and every continent. Those are just to name a few, right? But these are all things that you're getting with that NYU education. And again, we'll dive a little bit more deeply into some of those components later on. But up to this point, we've now talked about how to apply to NYU, how to apply for financial aid. And now I just want to make a quick plug for, this will be mostly relevant for those of you who are not quite at the application stage quite yet. So let's say you're a rising sophomore or junior. I just want to plug something called the NYU Pre-College program that we have, which is an opportunity for sophomores and juniors in the audience to experience NYU firsthand through this summer program. And through this summer pre-college program, high school students are taking classes with NYU students and earning real college credit. You will live in an NYU residence hall. And you'll learn to navigate the campus and the city just like real life NYU students do. And for these students, we think it's a really invaluable opportunity to get a sense of what it's like to really study here and live here in this campus without walls, discover your academic strengths, discover your academic interests. And these are all things that can help shape your college career and beyond. So pre-college, just as an additional note, it's just one of the many programs for high school students that we offer here at NYU. We offer loads and loads and loads of them. We have summer programs for pretty much everything, from performing arts programs at Tisch, STEM programs at our Tannen School of Engineering, journalism, law programs, you name it. There's literally something for everyone. So if you want to just check out either the link at the bottom of the screen here, or if you're interested in some of those broader high school programs, you can visit nyu.edu/high school for more information, and you might find something of interest for you there. So thanks for sticking with me as I made that quick plug. And now I'm going to go back and talking a little bit more about NYU and really diving into this global network that we have to offer. So at NYU, we truly are the university that never sleeps. At any given time, we have students, faculty, and staff that are learning, thinking, and innovating around the clock. And a lot of this is centered in our three main campuses in New York, Abu Dhabi, and Shanghai. Each of these three degree granting campuses that we have were established at really carefully and thoughtfully chosen locations because we believe at NYU that New York three of the most diverse and dynamic cities in the globe. And that's why we wanted to give students the opportunity to study here for the duration of their undergraduate degree. And every student at each of our campuses will have the opportunity to move through the entirety of NYU's global network seamlessly to obtain a truly global education. And you can see here on the map where each of our global academic centers or degree granting campuses are located. You can see in the big, bright, bold fonts where our New York City, Abu Dhabi, and Shanghai campuses are. And then all of the locations in the plain white font are our traditional global academic centers where students are typically going for, a semester abroad. Maybe you're doing a summer term. The rule of thumb at NYU is students can generally spend anywhere from 1 to 3 semesters abroad. But these are places where students can go for that really traditional study away experience. And as you can see here, we have not just locations across the globe, we also have some domestic study away locations as well, as evidenced by the campus in Washington, D.C., as well as Los Angeles. And this is just one of the ways that NYU is really sort of redefining the idea of what it means to quote unquote study abroad. And this is informed by our unique belief that boundaries are imaginary, an idea that builds on our founding principles. And we think that in order to be successful, students need to be fluid and fluent across cultures and countries, regardless of where they're studying. And with that, I will also note, so if any of you do have an interest, if you've been bitten by the travel bug and you are thinking, wow, I would love to study in, a lot of these great cities that NYU has campuses in, know that there are some additional NYU. Because our global network is fluid and all of these sites are owned and operated by NYU, it means you'll have a really truly seamless experience where English will be the language of instruction at all of these sites. So you're not going to be limited in terms of where you can study based off of what language proficiency levels you have for different countries. Know that your financial aid award is guaranteed to travel with you to any of the NYU sites. The cost of attendance will remain consistent across all of these sites. You never have to be worried about things like, will these credits transfer back to my major or my home university? Again, it all just makes for a really seamless experience that makes the study abroad experience and this global network in general very accessible. And I think that's a tremendous perk that comes with this global network here. Now, our approach is amplified by our global presence. Just imagine bringing the full breadth and scope of NYU's network to your education itself. Regardless of where you study, every student will take a core curriculum that's grounded in the liberal arts. But just imagine if your city became part of the conversation and part of the classroom itself. That's very common, especially at our global sites where you are exiting the classroom sphere and going out and turning the city surrounding you into the classroom itself. And because of that, NYU students are always traveling the world, they're collecting passport stamps, and they're leaving this university with a global perspective. In fact, some students can spend multiple semesters away in multiple global sites. And we even give first year students the opportunity to spend their entire first year away through our liberal studies core program. We also have a first year away program offered through our Stern School of Business. Fun fact, I actually was a student who did my first year away. I started in the liberal studies core program and spent my first year in Paris. And then I also studied later for a summer term in Berlin. So that is not uncommon amongst NYU students to really, really leverage this global network. Now, much like our students, we also have faculty who are really leveraging this global network of ours, and they're moving across the global network. They're also uninhibited by time zones and comfort zones. So this is something that I think really helps attract some of the top tier faculty that we have at NYU is the fact that they can tap into this global network of ours. But faculty are also really engaged in the local community. So in New York City, for example, nearly half of our faculty live in the Greenwich Village neighborhood, which is where our campus is located. And collectively, NYU faculty will leverage various NYU locations to teach and conduct research in the places that are most relevant to their areas of expertise. So you might have a faculty member who's, based in New York, but might spend an occasional semester away teaching classes in, Accra or Sydney, et cetera, et cetera. And this allows students to interact with experts in their fields in the field. So truly a lot of amazing opportunities to get some top tier learning experiences here. And again, this is one of the reasons why our students here at NYU are able to learn from some of the best faculty in the world. Now, another thing that really enhances the learning experience are the research opportunities that come with the faculty members that we have at NYU. So NYU is actually the largest private research university in the United States. And because of that, our faculty members, as you can probably intuit, they are always actively and highly engaged in research. And they're really excited to engage students in their research as well. So students will have countless opportunities to garner funding for their own research projects. This could be working with cells in a lab. I think that's what a lot of students envision when they picture what research looks like. But this could also look like experimenting in an urban farm or combing through the architectural history of New York City. Those are just, a few examples of the different types of research opportunities that you can leverage at NYU. And because of that, NYU students really have unmatched research opportunities thanks to the resources that come with us being the largest private research university in the country. So, with that, we've now talked about the university as a whole, but as noted in the application slide, we will ask you to select your campuses of interest when it comes to our three main degree granting campuses. So, I'm now going to take this opportunity to dive a little bit deeper and give you a quick snapshot of each of the campuses, starting with our campus in New York City. So we're going to launch another poll for you and start by asking which academic discipline are you most interested in? Arts and media, business, education, humanities, STEM, undecided. I am definitely a supporter of all of you undecided folks since I was undecided until my sophomore year of college. So love those undecided folks, but go ahead and take a moment and oh wait, hold on. Let's see here. We all right, hold on one moment. There we go. I think we've got it now. All right, so now go ahead, take a moment and let us know which academic discipline you are most interested in if you happen to know that yet. We got some quick results in, take another second or two. Got a pretty good spread here. Once again, speak now or forever hold your peace. Got almost all folks in. Alrighty, so again, really great spread here. We've got interests. It looks like the top three here are arts and media, business, and STEM, but we have representation across all of these areas, including education, humanities, and our undecided folks, which again, love our undecided folks. So thanks so much for sharing that. One of the reasons why we ask this question is because we want to highlight the fact that these are all disciplines that you will have access to in NYU. Now, again, going back to this focus on the New York City campus. Here in our New York City campus, we have 10 traditional undergraduate schools and colleges that house roughly 230 areas of study. And within those areas of study, we have over 3,000 courses offered. So students who are applying to the New York campus, for those of you who are specifically interested in New York, know that you are applying directly to one of our 10 schools or colleges. So this could be for those of you who, let's say, using arts and media for an example. For those of you who are interested in arts and media, you might be interested in doing a sort of hybrid or sort of a blend of a conservatory style program with access to a core curriculum in liberal arts. And maybe you are looking at majors in Tisch, like our dance major, or dramatic writing, or film and television. You might be looking at artistic programs in Steinhardt, where you can study music business, music technology, vocal performance, et cetera, et cetera. Lots of opportunities here. For those of you who are interested in business, maybe you're looking at applying to the Stern School of Business, which is a great opportunity to study business, but it's not the only place to study business at NYU. If you have maybe a more niche business interest, like something in real estate or sports management or hospitality, we have majors for those areas as well, housed in our School of Professional Studies. If you want to blend business and technology, especially for those of you who are interested in STEM, we have great sort of interdisciplinary majors like business and technology management, which is actually housed in our Tandon School of Engineering. So those are just a couple examples, but again, note that you have endless pathways here. And I always like to say to students, for any one area of study, you probably have at least 10, probably like at least 6 to 8 different pathways that you could choose to pursue that area of interest here at NYU because of how vast our academic offerings are. And as you can see on the screen for another quick snapshot, this is a very diverse campus. We have over 135 countries represented, and this is the largest of the 3 campuses with about 25,000 undergraduate students, which is a pretty hefty size undergraduate student population. To give you a quick background on the geography, you can see most students, when they think of NYU, they think of our campus located in the Washington Square area in Greenwich Village. And this is, sort of the heart of our campus. This is where we were sort of the impetus of NYU's New York City campus, but we also jump over in Brooklyn, which primarily houses programs for our Tandon School of Engineering, but we also have some of our artistic programs like recorded music, game design, et cetera, housed there as well. And regardless of which New York campus you're at, whether that's Washington Square or the Brooklyn campus, you're going to have a very, very vibrant environment and an atmosphere to exist in. In Greenwich Village, the streets are going to be cobblestone streets lined with row houses, brownstones, outdoor cafes, bookstores. In the Brooklyn campus, which is located at the Metro Tech Center, you're going to be surrounded by cultural and artistic venues, a lot of tech startups and companies, which is great for those students who are interested in technology and want to find great internship or job opportunities. And again, regardless of where you are, you can really turn, the city around you into your classroom. So that's New York in a nutshell. I'm now going to take a moment to talk. I keep getting away with myself with my mouse there. So now I'm going to take a moment to talk about our campus in Abu Dhabi. And our campus in Abu Dhabi was founded in 2010. So it's turning 13 this year. A little bit young, but it is definitely a flagship campus for us. So Abu Dhabi was founded in 2010 in the capital of the United Arab Emirates, and the campus itself is truly a microcosm of the world at large. For some context, about 89% of the city of Abu Dhabi's population are expats coming from other places in the globe. And the campus that NYU has there really mirrors that same cosmopolitanism. As you can see, the student body here is much smaller. Instead of 25,000, you've got about 1,800 undergraduate students. But even with that much smaller student body, we still have 112 countries represented, which is very, very impressive. So again, students are coming from all over the world. And one additional thing to note is, with the small size of this campus, you have really great opportunities to build close connections with students and faculty alike. The student to faculty ratio here is 4-1. So you're definitely going to get great mentorship opportunities with your faculty. And those faculty represent 25 different majors that span across the arts, humanities, social sciences, engineering, and traditional sciences. So really great learning opportunities in addition to opportunities to have cross-cultural connections made as well. The campus itself is located in the Saadiyat Cultural District, which is home to major cultural venues like the Louvre. The Guggenheim will be breaking ground soon. There are great restaurants, entertainment venues, hotels, recreational facilities like golf courses, beaches, mangrove kayaking. It's truly endless here. It's a really fun, vibrant city to be in. And so if any of these things sound appealing to you, whether that's, the small environment, the truly sort of cosmopolitanism and cross-cultural opportunities, or just the funness of Abu Dhabi itself, then this could be a campus for you to consider. And another fun fact, we've produced 17 Rhodes Scholars in 9 years, which is a pretty impressive statistic. So these students are truly doing amazing things with their NYU Abu Dhabi educations. Now, last but not least, I'll talk briefly about our campus in Shanghai, which was uniquely designed to bring students together from China and the rest of the world. So NYU Shanghai is designed such that half of the student body are Chinese nationals, citizens who have grown up in China. They've gone through the schooling system in China. They've gone through the Gaokao. And then the other 50% of the student body are the quote unquote international students coming from anywhere outside of China. And with that other 50% of the student body, we have over 70 countries represented. And so every single day here at NYU Shanghai is truly going to be a masterclass in cross-cultural skills. The campus itself is located in Pudong, which is the heart of the financial district in Shanghai. And Shanghai is China's largest city. So once again, you're really getting a truly cosmopolitan experience if you are a student here. And just like our students in New York, students in Shanghai really view the city as their campus. So that is definitely something that will enhance the learning opportunities and just social opportunities as well for students. Each international student at NYU Shanghai has the chance to experience China as a local, from attaining proficiency in Mandarin to living with a Chinese roommate to exploring internships. And also an additional perk for this campus is NYU Shanghai has a dual identity as both an American and a Chinese university. So when students graduate from NYU Shanghai, they actually earn 2 degrees. They will earn either Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science from NYU. And they'll also earn a second degree from NYU Shanghai, which is a Chinese diploma certified by the Chinese Ministry of Education. And essentially what that means is that just opens up a lot of career opportunities to you around the world that you might not have had access to otherwise. So really amazing opportunities here as well. Now, regardless of the campus that you call home, whether that's New York, Abu Dhabi, or Shanghai, there's only one place that's really going to prepare you for our world of connections and interrelations, and that's NYU. There's really nowhere that's beyond our reach or our ability to get you to where you need to go. Now, when we say, we've said it before, we have students innovating around the clock. It's the campus that never sleeps or the university that never sleeps. And we are truly uninhibited by time zones. And with that, we also like to say that our students are uninhibited by comfort zones. We really push students to go outside of their comfort zones and make connections and find opportunities that are pushing them outside of their comfort zones. And you'll be making connections that do this for you. These connections connections can start from day one in your residence hall, where we challenge students to be, connecting with students from other parts of the globe. So no two students from the same zip code will be roommates together. In Abu Dhabi, you'll just be hard pressed to begin with to find someone that is from the same zip code as you. And in Shanghai, Chinese national students are always paired with international students in the residence halls. So again, you're always having those opportunities to make those cross-cultural connections. And at all three of our campuses, students are taking classes both inside and outside of their chosen majors. So we're really pushing you outside of your comfort zone in terms of your academic exploration as well. And with that said, naturally, if we're pushing you outside of your comfort zone a lot of the time, that can be uncomfortable, right? That's only to be expected. And because of that, NYU recognizes that we really need to have robust support services for students to make sure that you're supported as we're pushing you outside of your comfort zones. So we have a wealth of resources available for students, and every student will have access to all of these resources and offices, regardless of their home campus. Some examples of some of these things would be our NYU Welcome Week, which exists in New York, Abu Dhabi, and Shanghai. All of our campuses have a student health center where you can go for health services, access free counseling services. We also have an Office of Global Services, which offers visa support and immigration support for our international students. If you have accessibility needs, we have an office called the Moses Center for Student Accessibility, which will help you get the accommodations that you need to make sure that you are learning in a comfortable environment. There's academic support, and so on and so forth. Really, really endless opportunities here. And so again, even though we're encouraging students to get outside of their comfort zone, know that we'll always be providing the support that you need along the way. With that, I'm going to talk a little bit about extracurriculars and the fun stuff that happens at NYU. So also located across all of our campuses is going to be a student affairs office, which is going to be dedicated to creating opportunities for students to engage at NYU and in their communities. And across these student affairs offices, NYU has amassed hundreds and hundreds of student clubs and organizations. There's truly something for everyone across all of our student clubs and organizations. Just really depends on what your personal interests are. So for example, if you are a sports person, NYU has D3 athletics, D1 fencing, if you're really into fencing. We have theater groups, we have music groups. My personal favorite, which was one of my favorite clubs when I was an NYU student, was the Cheese Club, which was quite literally a club where students met weekly and just taste tested different types of cheese. There's a Quidditch team for our Harry Potter fans, and so on and so forth. So again, really countless opportunities to engage with your fellow students across the campuses here. And it really just depends on what your interests are, where you want to push yourself in terms of finding new interests. Now we are almost at the end here. So I'm just going to close by talking about some of the post-educational opportunities that come with an NYU education, starting with employment. So one additional support resource we have for students is an office called the Wasserman Center for Career Development, which has a full menu of career development related services, things like resume review, coaching, advising, mock interviews. Wasserman also hosts a database called NYU Handshake, which is a global database for job and internship opportunities located across the globe. And despite the disruption that the COVID-19 pandemic has caused across multiple professional industries, we're still seeing a really impressively strong desire by employers to connect with NYU students, even in the virtual space. So again, despite the pandemic, not only has the amount of internships available on that Handshake database increased by 20% since last year, employers are still actively participating in virtual career development and recruitment events to attract students. And students are really taking advantage of those virtual internship opportunities being offered. So you're still finding countless opportunities to get this career development opportunity, so to speak, regardless of where you are in the world and regardless of environment, whether this is these are opportunities that are happening in person or virtually. And some additional facts, which I think will be particularly fun for you to cite for your parents as they are wondering, well, what's the value of an NYU education? You can see some really impressive Instrument surveyed our graduating seniors and reported that 93% of our students have participated in at least one job or internship by the time that they have graduated from NYU. 92% of our students were actually employed or enrolled in graduate school within 6 months of graduation, which is a really impressive statistic in the landscape of higher education. And 60% of our students actually secured a job before graduating, which is another really impressive statistic in the landscape of higher ed. The average starting salary for a recent graduating class was about $3,000. And we also have a really vast alumni network, over 500,000 students. And this is another great opportunity to connect with, alumni across industries. And that's a great way to really build out your professional network and make sure you're finding great career opportunities even after you've graduated. So that was a very quick overview of a lot of different facets of NYU. And so I know this was fast, but I do hope this information has really helped to give you an idea of who NYU is and all that we have to offer. So that's pretty much it for the presentation portion of the event. And we're now going to transition into the student panel portion of the event so that you can have a chance to hear from some of our current students. And this will also be where we'll take a chance to get to some of your questions in the Q&A box if we have any lingering questions from you. But I'm going to start by asking the ambassadors to introduce themselves. So ambassadors, after I mention your name, if you want to just share a little bit about yourselves, your year, major, hometown, campus involvement, that would be fantastic. And I'm just going to go in order of who I see here, starting with Julia. So Julia, if you want to start by introducing yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here with you today on the panel. My name is Julia. I use she, her pronouns. I am currently a rising senior at the Tisch School of the Arts studying drama, also double minoring in producing and BMT, which is Business of Entertainment, Media, and Technology. And lastly, I am an international student from Warsaw, Poland. Super nice to meet you all.
Thanks, Julia. Hold on here. Let's see, who do I have next? All right, I think I have Jess next. If you want to introduce yourself, Jess.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jess. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a sophomore at Steinhardt studying applied psychology with a double major in public policy. I'm also an international student, so I'm from Canada, not too far, pretty close. And on campus, I'm president of the equestrian team. I'm a traveling member of the mock child team. I do some psychology research with a lab called the RISE Lab, and I'm also working as a writing partner with the Writing Center.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jess. And I think last but not least here is Katie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Katie. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a junior here at NYU. I'm double majoring in performance studies in Tisch School of the Arts and public policy in the College of Arts and Sciences. And I'm originally from Phoenix, Arizona.
Love it. Thank you all so much for introducing yourselves. So I'm actually going to start by diving in with a question about housing, since I know this is something that students are very curious about when it comes to NYU and being this campus without walls. So I'll start by asking, for those of you who have lived on campus, could you tell us a little bit about your experience living in a residence hall and maybe what your favorite part of that has been? Go ahead, Jess.
Yeah, of course. So I lived on campus in my first year, and it was really awesome. I was able to get this great sense of community. I literally met my best friend on my same hall, and there's so many amenities. It's so easy to live on campus. You have your campus safety officers with you, and then you also have RAs who are planning super fun events for you, and really free business events across the building. I know there was free trips to Carnegie Hall and to Broadway, and you got to really know people and explore the city through that as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Jess. I also see your hand, Julia.
Jess said it so perfectly, but I just wanted to reiterate that being an international student, I feel like coming in to such a crazy but amazing city as New York City is, it was a very crucial part of my sort of experience coming in as a first year to be living in a residence hall, as that definitely made me feel safe and comfortable, and simply the whole adaptation to the city and being a college student in a big city was much smoother than I was expecting it to be. And I was definitely, all my expectations were met in terms of support and finding my community, sort of what Jess said. So it was definitely a wonderful experience. And I feel like even though it's not required of all our students, I feel like especially at this university, it is a pivotal moment to sort of become a part of the community.
Love that. That should be the new catchphrase for ORLHS, which is the abbreviation for our housing office. Anything else before I move on to one of our audience questions? All right. So one of the questions that we got in the Q&A, which I think can probably be interpreted in a couple different ways. So feel free to take liberty with how you want to respond to this, ambassadors. But Dominic has asked, what do you think a strong global network can offer you that a strong national network can't? Go ahead, Katie.
There are some examples of just like very clear resources where this is the case. Like, for example, our library system. If you are working really late at night at one of our New York City based libraries and all of our librarians are asleep, you can hop on our Ask the Librarian feature and connect with a librarian at NYU Shanghai or NYU Abu Dhabi, someone who's awake. So that's just a really concrete example of how a global network helps you. But additionally, like NYU really shines in the opportunities we give our students for study away and study abroad. So last semester, I got the opportunity to go to NYU Madrid, and I had just like absolutely the most incredible learning experience in terms of language, in terms of culture, in terms of my classes in politics and performance. It was really, really wonderful. So that's just like one short little example of what a global network I think looks like, especially here at NYU.
Love that. Any other takers for this one? I know it's kind of a loaded question. There's a lot of different directions you could go in with it. I'll give you a moment to ponder. Go ahead, Jess.
You probably said a lot, but also I'd say the other global network piece is also the people you meet. And like NYU is just so international. So like even just staying here in New York City, like my friends are from like literally all around the world, and they have such like diverse background. It's super interesting because they really are like opening my mind every time I interact with them, and that's something you can do without even having to leave the city.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Any other takers before I move on to one of our other Q&A questions? All right, I'm scrolling through here, trying to find a fun one, which I think I have found in Andrea's question. Are there any yearly or monthly shows, events, or traditions that happen at NYU? And I'm adding on here, but if there are any, what are your personal favorites? Go ahead, Julia.
This might not be a direct sort of response to that specific question, but I feel like being in the city, we have this is coming from an acting student, so I feel like I have a very specific perspective on this, but we really are in the center of an incredible cultural hub. So a lot of the things that we get to experience as students at NYU are simply things that are happening around the city. And the reason these things can actually be very accessible is we get to have a lot of discounts and various events around the city, including exhibitions, art galleries, shows, Broadway shows, concerts, even sport events, if anyone's into that. We are offered a reduced rate or even free tickets to some of those. One of the resources that we have on campus is called the Scholastics Box Office. We get regular emails that include a lot of different ticket opportunities for us. So I would say personally that there are, honestly, I think I can count on one hand the number of shows that I've seen where I paid full price for the ticket. And I've seen a lot of shows in New York City. So I think that would be one of my favorite aspects of sort of the cultural collaboration between NYU and like the artistic life in the city, where we really do get to access a lot of those artistic and non-artistic events around the city.
Yeah, if you love like shows, plays, musicals, this is an amazing place to be. Go ahead, Katie.
Yeah, I also want to emphasize like NYU itself has a lot of traditions that students engage in. So I think there's a common fear that because we are a campus without walls, and because we have such a large population, that there's not that sense of community. But there really truly is. Welcome Week happens every year. It's absolutely my favorite thing. I'm about to be a junior. I guess I'm a junior first day of class today, but I still go to all those events. Every single year there's a drag queen bingo night performance that happens, and it's a welcome week event, so it's technically for new students, but anyone can show up and go. I go every year. It's so much fun. So there's stuff like that too. You meet your best friends, lots of community. And I think like the traditions that NYU students get to experience in and out of like the NYU community every year here in the city are really incredible.
Love that. Any other takers as I scroll through looking for the next good question? All right, let's see here. All right, so anonymous question, but is there something interesting about NYU that you didn't know before arriving on campus and that you would like to share that you wish you would have known before coming to campus? Go for it, Katie.
I wish that I had spent more time my first like couple of months here at NYU exploring all of the resources that were available to me, because I think that NYU, like Jess mentioned, the Writing Center, there's other things like that. NYU has such an incredible selection of resources for students in terms of like how you can save money, how you can get help in classes. I didn't know about the Academic Resource Center, which is our free student-run tutoring center, until like halfway through my freshman year, and I could have used that the whole time. So just like things like that, I really wish I'd taken my time to learn about who was available to help me, and all of the places that I could have found community and gotten assistance, because we really, really have amazing opportunities for students to get free help and discounts all around the city.
Love that. Go for it, Jess.
Yeah, my thing would be definitely trying out all the different extracurriculars. There's literally so many, and like really never be afraid to put yourself out there. I remember my first year, I was like really interested in Greek life, but like I'd seen like Bamarosh TikTok, and like I'm so scared because like, oh my gosh, it's so scary. But then I realized that here at NYU, all the extracurriculars are really interesting for everyone. And like even if you think it's not going to be your scene, like definitely just trying that, going into that first meeting and seeing what it's like, because it's probably going to be a lot more chill than like you think it is. So it's definitely my thing that like I wish I knew.
Love it. Okay, so I think we can probably squeeze in one more question, if you can answer in like one sentence. But coming, for those of you who have come from, suburban life to a big city, what would you advise a rising freshman to do as they're sort of making the adjustment to New York City? Go for it, Katie.
Put yourself out there and be brave.
Love that. Go for it, Julia.
Find your routines and things that make you feel calm and taking care of your well-being.
Self-care piece is so important. Any other parting pieces of advice before all right, go for it, Jess.
Don't push the subway system. It's going to be your best friend. It'll get you everywhere.
Subway is definitely a rite of passage also when you come to New York City. So definitely would agree with that there. All right. So thank you so much, ambassadors, for sharing all of your wisdom. I'm sure everyone in the audience greatly appreciated that. And that will wrap it up for our presentation today. Now, as promised, I will get to our contact information in a moment, but just gonna plug some upcoming events. So before we fully wrap, definitely would encourage you, if you're interested in taking a deeper dive into learning about NYU, would definitely encourage you to register for future events on our virtual experiences website, because you can definitely find a lot of opportunities to learn about some more niche aspects of NYU. And also note that if any of you are interested in learning more about the Abu Dhabi or Shanghai campuses specifically, we do have virtual information sessions that are specific to those campuses. So we'd encourage you to look into those as well. registration is already available on our virtual experiences website. So hopefully we'll see you at one of those. But last but not least, as promised, if any of you ask questions that we weren't able to get to during the session, please don't hesitate to social media. You can also reach out to our admissions team via email at admissions@nyu.edu. If you want to connect with some of our other amazing ambassadors, like the ones that you heard from today, you can reach them via email at admissions.ambassadors@nyu.edu. And you're also welcome to call our office as well. So that'll be a wrap for today. Thank you all so much again for attending. Hope this was helpful. And I hope you all enjoy the day wherever you are in the world. Take care, everybody.